Okay. Um, Impromptu live, like all of them. My baby girl is right here. She's playing. Let me take this arm brace off. So, I was just having a conversation with a new mom friend, and we were just talking about like different things that we do. And one thing led to another. And the conversation came on to the fact that the other day I did a live here on YouTube and I wanted to test what it would be like to go on for an hour and a half. And to go on an hour and a half with a newborn is a challenge unless you have someone taking care of your baby, which at that time it was just mommy and baby. I'm like, what could I do? How could I make this work? I may need to change her at some point. I may need to feed her at some point. We'll see. I wasn't totally sure how it was going to happen. And then in the middle of the live, baby girl was hungry twice actually. And so I decided to breastfeed her. Obviously, I moved the camera so that you can't see me and I just did what I had to do. And throughout it, we continued the conversation with everybody that was on and we were pulling cards and talking and stuff. And there were just some golden nuggets that came through. And I didn't think too much of it. But then one thing that came is my friend said, I want to start YouTube. I want to do this, but like, am I allowed to? I'm a mom and this and that. And I'm like, why the F not? And it got me to thinking about permission and what we give ourselves the permission to do in this life. Where does this concept even come from? Like for me, giving myself the permission to first come on YouTube even 6 years ago was a big deal. And then it's been an ongoing thing of like, do I have the permission? Do I have the permission? And I have to keep giving it to myself. Because if I don't give it to me, even if someone else gives it to me, I'm just going to doubt. Am I allowed? Am I this? Am I that? But why? Where did this come from? I think some of it, I think for me anyways, and a lot of people, is from conditioning from school. You know, we're put into the system where we have to ask permission to go to the bathroom. You know how bad it is for you to hold it in? Like, if we actually scientifically knew, why do I have to ask, hey, ma'am, can I go to the bathroom? You should be able to get up in high school and say, hey, I need to use the washroom. I'm going. And we're put in this standardized system that is meant to train us to obey commands. And in fact, I did a video. Once I'm done the live, I'm going to link it below where I talk about why it's imperative that we're delusional because NASA did a study. I don't remember when the study was. I think it was in the 60s. And they did a study where they wanted to find the most creative people. And when they started babies at 5 years old, and at 5 years old, 95% of babies were super highly creative. And they tested the creativity based on how they could solve problems. And they wanted to find geniuses, right, through this all. Now, fast track, I don't remember the exact stats. I break it down in the video. In the stats, the more they pass through the education system, the less intelligent they became, the less geniuses they would find. Until I think at age 21, you get to 2% genius level. And the only thing all these people had in common was going to school, passing through the system that is meant to make you obey. And so as an adult, you struggle because like I have a baby and I'm the parent. And I think of why am I still asking permission? Why does anyone still need to ask permission? And it's because of that mental conditioning that we have. And so that's why we have to encourage each other. And like I was like, after having that conversation with my friend, I'm like, I need to go live. I need to just share this because what if someone else out there, someone even joining this live, even for a minute, and there's things you want to experience in your life, and you're like, am I allowed to? Am I too late? Am I this? Am I that? Usually, it's if you don't have friends and family or business partners that are encouraging you to do it, you might be like, no, I'm not allowed. Oh, it's inappropriate, this and that. And it all depends. It depends on who you are and what you want. What's the context? The context is freedom from Iran. Yes, I went to do the demonstrations this last weekend on Valentine's Day. The context is I was talking to a friend who wants to also have a YouTube channel, and she also just had a baby. And because I think I've had my channel and I'm like, I'm not going to stop going on my channel. It's easier sometimes for me to come on live than to not. It got me to say, well, what are you waiting for? You're waiting for someone to give you permission? Messy, messy. And I realized that the context is that a lot of us are conditioned to think we have to ask permission. My boss said not to use the company account to watch live streams, but here we are. I love it. I love it. There we go. My mom doesn't like have different opinions than hers. And so that can happen as well. Our parents can definitely not like it when we have different opinions. I think a lot of parents, and this is changing with this new wave of parenting, and anyways, we can get all into that at some point, but behavioral psychologists definitely dominated the parenting game for the last 100 years. And basically what this did is that it said to parents, I don't like a behavior, or a behavior is unacceptable in public, whereas it, just even think of that, like your child's brain isn't even developed and we're trying to determine what's appropriate, what's not. And then if a child's behavior is deemed inappropriate, it's a reflection on your parents. So now we're pairing childhood brain development with morality of parents, and it's like that is already is absolutely crazy. But what happens is that the parents freak out because instead of being empowered, I don't know if you can hear her. This is such cute sounds. Instead of being empowered to make your decisions on what kind of parents you want to be, you're having this social construct tell you what is appropriate, what is good, what makes you a good person, what makes you a bad person. And so, where was I going with this? Deemed inappropriate. So a lot of us, when we have like a different opinion than our parents, their natural reflex is to squash it. Because you disagree with me, you're not obeying me. So they want to squash it because it's what they're taught. But the beauty is you're an adult now and you get to change it, but it's going to take hyper vigilance. Where are you from? I'm originally from Iran and I currently live in Canada. Thank you so much. What if the relationship with parents are not that good and we feel like depressed and left out? I don't know if I feel you. It's challenging. Like one of the problems with disagreeing with parents, I learned the science of this and it really helped. Basically, the back end of our brain, the reptilian brain, and by the way, I'm not just talking out of my ass, I'm a hypnotherapist. I researched this for a long time. But part of the issue is that there's a part of our brain, the reptilian brain, and it's one of the oldest part of our brain, and it's really geared towards survival. And what happens is that, like, let's take a metaphor because it's easier to understand so that next time you disagree with your parents and you feel depressed and stuff, you understand what's happening. Imagine you fall onto this earth and you are in the middle of you're with your family, that's your tribe. You're in the middle of a jungle. You're in the middle of absolutely nowhere. Okay? Now you're with this tribe, you learn to survive together, hunt together, eat together. And then at some point you have a different perspective. There's something different you want to do in your life. But the issue is that you don't know if you could travel by yourself, because if you feel like there's another land somewhere else. And the thought of going is exciting, but also terrifying. And you want companionship because if you go by yourself, you might be chased and you might be killed. And I know that sounds like a crazy metaphor, but that's kind of what happens in the brain. And so it seeks to want to be felt, heard, and understood by those that are around you. In modern society, that is like feeling rejected. That is feeling misunderstood. That is the deep wanting to belong. We all want to belong. As much as people say, we're just talking about permission, being bold and stuff, we still have this deep desire and need to want to belong. Just think of my baby girl here right now. She is hyper dependent on me for food, for love, for shelter. Babies, like humans, we're the only species that you can't just leave and let them figure it out. Like I have my baby dog here too. Well, she's not really a baby. She's always a baby, but she's 10 years old. If I leave her in the jungle, she might figure it out. My baby girl, definitely not. So when that core family unit of ours, if we feel the threat of them leaving or the threat of them not supporting us, it feels like a deep rejection. And that's hard to take in. And so one of the things that I say is learn to love yourself. There's an inner child meditation right here on this channel. I'll link it also after this live. Definitely go do that meditation, because that it will help you come home to yourself, and then begin to specifically surround yourself with people who are your chosen family, people that you choose to identify with. You know, you gotta love people who, like, look at this guy, Jack. It's crazy. Lady, who cares? Nobody cares. Jesus Christ, what's going on? Bro, change the channel. Why are you wasting your time? Actually, keep commenting because it's really good for me. But some people make me laugh. Tell me the happy day of your life. Every day is a different happy day. Is that a cheesy answer? A little bit. No, they can't be right every time. Nobody is right every time. And I spoke about this in another live when we talk about giving ourselves the permission to set boundaries. I think a lot of times when we set boundaries, we think it's about being righteous. Someone has to be right, someone has to be wrong. But boundaries are meant to support your becoming. Sometimes you can think you're right, maybe you're not. It's not even the point. But when we think that someone is ultimately right, sometimes we're conditioned to think that. And by the way, that's a sign of narcissism. If someone makes you feel like you are always wrong, and they start to gaslight you and make you feel crazy, that you have to dig to the ends of the earth to prove you're right, to set a point, to set a boundary, it says more about that person than you, okay? I'm not an expert in narcissism, but definitely YouTube that shit if that's something that you're feeling, like in a relationship, so that you see the signs. But I urge you to take the concept of right and wrong out of it. You don't need to prove you're right to give yourself the permission to create the things you want to create. I don't need to prove that I'm right to say, hey, I really desire to create right now. I really desire to create videos on YouTube. It makes me happy. Of course, there's a level of justification that has to come of like, okay, well, when is the appropriate time? Like, I have a newborn. Okay, I don't have infinite amount of time, and like I manage certain things, but if it makes me happy to create for YouTube, I'm going to make the time. I'm going to find the areas, and I'm going to do it in a responsible way. But I don't need to say, okay, well, it's right for me to do it because of this and that and that. It's like, okay, it makes me happy. That's all the permission I freaking need, right? Living in the jungle is okay rather than living on an island. I'm not the best cook, but I try to. I want to. I want to cook. I don't know where that comes from. That's crazy. Someone wrote, my boundaries, never to listen to a woman. Bro, what happened to you in life? Listen, I don't know if you're saying this out of hurt, pain, or just to like craze ruckus. Ruckus? Ruckus? Am I saying the word right? Ruckus on the live? But that's a wild claim to make. I wonder what led you to that. Like, what pain led you to that? Okay, we are fearfully and wonderfully made by God, knitted together in our mother's womb, and our souls have. Why am I having such a hard time reading? I went to university, by the way. Like, what's going on here? Let me start over. We are fearfully and wonderfully made by God, knitted together in our mother's womb. Our souls have a longing to have connection to others. It's God's design. 100%, Teresa. 100%. I resonate with that. Care about me when I get it done or end of this year. I was in my mind. I don't know what that means. I personally feel my father, who was the only pillar of our family, now after marrying someone else and having children with her, I feel like there is nothing left for me. I can't live with them. First, I'm sorry that you're going through that pain. I will say, you never know in the future what brings. I know I didn't speak to my father for many years. He had a daughter with another, he remarried. And she's literally one of my best friends. And we didn't get close until I think she was 19 or something, or 20. And now she's one of my best friends. And it's not something I could have ever imagined what it like at some point, but life can change. Stay open. Oh man, I'm out of water. Have you been to France? Yes, I have a few times. I love France. Um, I can translate to Chinese. YouTube can only do that. My gosh, someone is going on an absolute tear. You know when YouTube blocks your messages? Like it's like block message, block message. I'm like, what are you writing? I'm not gonna look right now because like why? But what claims you need? Yeah, I guess it's like what claims do you need to go on? Are you a model? No. What are your thoughts on Muslims? That's a good question. I think Islam is a beautiful thing. I don't know enough. I can't think enough to say something now. Why corporate people act like emotional, less care about you? Why corporate people act like emotional, less they don't care about you and act like robots? My father passed away. I'm so sorry. Maybe part of this is also for you to give yourself the permission to live your life really unapologetically. You know, 10 years ago, I felt like I was stuck in, I don't want to call it the rat race, but like I went to university, I studied, I went all the way to my master's, did multiple internships, like build your CV. How many people have heard this, build your CV? And I felt like at that point, I kind of trapped myself into this career path that I absolutely hated. I loved it, but I hated it. It was just like not the life I wanted to live. And I wanted to change, but I felt like I didn't have the permission to change. And my mother, on my way back from a long, like a 4.5 month work trip, I don't know if anyone's been on a work trip, 4.5 months is exhausting. It's like I had nothing left. On my way back, my mother was announced with a very deadly brain tumor. She went into emergency surgery. She was at this point of losing her life, and her life completely changed after. And in that moment, I always knew life is short, but I had a very felt experience because my mother is my rock. She is the woman who raised me. I have so much love for her. And to see her life flash before her eyes shook me to my core. It made my life flash before my eyes. And I realized I need to give myself the permission today. Not tomorrow, not next year, not when things are perfect. A lot of us wait for perfection to give ourselves the permission today. And so one of the things I did was the first thing I did is learn to love myself. And that inner child meditation I talked about, I'm going to link it. I did that meditation and I was like, I need to give myself the permission for my younger self to live the life I really need to live. And so when I hear this, I hate my life, I want help, please God, I feel you. Like I've had so many nights where this is literally what I would pray. And it was crazy. Like it's crazy to think because I had everything you could think of. I had a great career, I had friends, I was like, going out and about and stuff, but I was just like, this isn't the life I want to live. And so if that is you, there's ways to change it. And I think the first thing is to learn to love yourself unapologetically. How many languages do you speak? At one point I spoke 5. Now I speak 3 pretty well. And then the other 2, Da, da, da. I speak French. Yes, I'm fluent in French. What is a good first date idea? Absolutely whatever you want. I would say something fun, like something that you enjoy. Something that you enjoy. My husband and I, our first date is so funny. We had both moved into like a condo, like obviously not together, we just met. And we didn't have blinds and we were like, what could we do? We went shopping for blinds and then we went for dinner and it was a memorable, funny first date. No, all the housework is not finished and I still gave myself the permission to come on live. You see? Little things. I swear it gets to you. I enjoy you paying attention to your own life and not pretending you have something worthwhile to tell us. I don't know if that's nice or mean. Go outside. Yes, I'm going to go for a walk a bit later today. All right, it's been a slice. I'm sending you all so much love and give yourself permission to live that life. Thank you for commenting, anyways. Okay, sending you all so much love. Until the next live. Bye.